Welcome to this information session on student supervision at Mancosa. In this session, we will cover the following: how supervisors are allocated to students, what is the student's role, what is the role of the supervisor, important strategies to ensure a successful student-supervisor relationship. Let's start with the supervisor allocations. When a student commences the dissertation process, they are required to submit a topic. The topic is submitted on the topic template provided by Mancosa and outlines the study title, the study background, the research problem, aims, objectives, and research questions. From this submission, we are able to see what area of research the student covers. This may be, for example, human resource management, finance, marketing, etc. So step 1 is to ascertain which topic area the student is looking at. Secondly, we consider which region the student is living in. This information is gathered from MANMIS, our student information management system. The research department has a listing of supervisors according to the region they live in, their area of specialization, as well as their qualifications. So what happens is each student is matched to an available supervisor which is in the same region as them and is an expert in the field in which the student wishes to research. In some instances, due to the area of research, a supervisor may be allocated to a student who is in another region to the student. Students often ask if they may nominate their own supervisor. The short answer is yes, you can. If they are an existing supervisor and are available to take on more students, in addition are topic area experts, then the nomination will be processed. If they don't have time to take on the student and are not area experts, the nomination will be declined. If the nominated supervisor is not an existing Mancosa supervisor, they will undergo the normal recruitment processes. This would include the submission of relevant documents, reference checking, as well as acceptance of the terms and conditions stipulated by Mancosa. Having looked at how you are paid with a supervisor and the different options available to you, let's move on to your role as a student. When a student enters a master's program, that student commits the time and energy necessary for research, leading to a dissertation that makes a substantial and original contribution to knowledge. It is the responsibility of the student to conform to the college and program requirements and procedures. Although it is the duty of the supervisor to be reasonably available for consultation, the primary responsibility for keeping in touch rests with the student. A student's responsibilities include the following: becoming familiar with and adhering to the rules, policies, and procedures in place at the department, adhering to all deadlines set by the department, preparing a research proposal and timeline, meeting with the supervisor when requested, and reporting regularly on progress and results, maintaining good records of each stage of the research. Most importantly, the research and research process is the responsibility of the student. Students must work independently. While the supervisor is there to guide the student, the sole responsibility of the research and dissertation rests on the student. Lastly, remember that the relationship between you and the supervisor is much like any other relationship. It is a reciprocal one, with obligations on both sides. The key to this relationship is mutual understanding and realistic expectations. Now that we are aware what the role of the student is, let's move on to the supervisor's role. The supervisor is a guide. Their role is to tell the student whether they're on the right track or not, whether they need to rethink something or adjust their thinking. The supervisor won't tell you what to do, but rather is the sounding board against which you can bounce ideas. Let's go through some of the roles that the supervisor may take on. The supervisor may advise you to change the topic, revise the research methodology, or revise the focus of the study during the course of the research process. Where necessary, they can provide you with some suggestions on reading and searching for information. The supervisor will discuss with you any ethical issues raised by the research proposed in the light of the disciplinary codes of ethics and advise you on how problematic issues can be best dealt with. They can provide appropriate advice during the process of the research and in the writing of the dissertation. They will, however, not write the dissertation for you. Where necessary, the supervisor may assist you by putting you in touch with specialists who may give supplementary help to you, especially in the field of statistics and the interpretation of data. In addition, they report to the research department on your progress. The supervisor will provide you with feedback on your work. Lastly, the supervisor approves your work before it is sent to Menkosa for external moderation and ratification. As we can see, they are merely there to keep you going in the right direction and, most importantly, to keep you going. Now let's look at how we build a good supervisor-student relationship. The most important aspect of a successful relationship is communication. It's really important to establish good communication lines with your supervisor. Tell them everything they need to know in terms of deadlines and requirements, so there are no gray areas. Here are some questions you need to consider. Does your supervisor know how to reach you? Do you know how to reach them? At what times are you available? At what times are they available? What are your expectations, and have you communicated these clearly? What are their expectations? Do you understand what their expectations are? If you are unable to meet a deadline or are traveling, have you communicated this to your supervisor? Do they know what the requirements are for the work? Do they know your deadlines, etc.? I think you get the picture. All aspects of the research process are important, and it's important that you are all on the same page. Effective communication ensures this. Secondly, communicating and understanding expectations is important. It's really important that you both have clear understanding of what each party's expectations are. If you're expecting the supervisor to tell you what to do, and they are expecting you to think for yourself and work independently, you will encounter some problems. Communicating expectations does not mean you'll get your way or what you want, but rather it means that you'll be able to come to a compromise that will work for both of you. Be reasonable in your expectations. Remember that you and your supervisor are on full-time employment. You both have families and a host of other responsibilities. Neither you nor they will be available to each other 24/7. A lot of frustration comes about when we see our timeline slip away from us. Planning is key. However, contingencies are just as important. Part of planning is using time effectively. Students often submit work to the supervisor or Menkosa and then wait for feedback. Life happens. Even though you agreed you would get feedback in a week, the supervisor might not be able to do it. Remember, there is always something else you can do. When you submit the proposal to your supervisor or Menkosa, remember that you still need to do a literature review. So instead of waiting for feedback, work on your literature review and read more for Chapter 3. Similarly, when the proposal is approved and you're collecting data, complete Chapters 1, 2, and 3. When your data is collected and analyzed, all you'll have left is Chapters 4 and 5. So let's recap. The student-supervisor relationship is a reciprocal one. It's important to have clear communication lines. It's important to have clear expectations and to come to a compromise on shared expectations. It's important to have a clear plan and a set of contingencies. Most importantly, you must keep the momentum going. Don't wait around. The idea of this session was to give you an overview of how your supervisor is allocated, what each of your roles are, and to pose some important questions to you which will assist you in developing a good working relationship with your supervisor. That's all for this session. We wish you all the best in your studies.